Welcome to Deep Look, Ultiworld's weekly radio show about the current state of Ultimate. I'm the host and the editor of Ultiworld, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Ultiworld senior editor Keith Raynor. And I just want to let you know, Keith, and our listeners, today is National Coffee Day, and Krispy Kreme will give you a free donut and coffee, no purchase necessary.
It may be National Coffee Day, Charlie, but if I'm going to Krispy Kreme, it's not for the coffee.
I can't say I think I've ever had Krispy Kreme coffee.
I've surely have at some point in my life, but it is not in a way that I can describe to you. I can't recall. It stood out in no way.
Know.
But a Krispy Kreme, I mean, one of my new favorite Ultiworld memories is introducing Kelsey Hayden, who's Canadian and on our reporting team, to Krispy Kreme, fresh, hot and ready. That's how you got to have them.
Wow.
You got to get it hot and ready. We went to the Krispy Kreme and took it off the conveyor belt. Like, that's how you should experience it. It melts in the mouth. It's truly one of life's delicacies.
What did she think?
I mean, she loved it. Why? How could you not?
It's a great donut.
And
I think their like cold donut selection, I don't even go there. They're bad. Like, they're worse than Dunkin'. But the hot and ready is unbelievable.
They're meant to be consumed that way. And if you get a cold one, while it's acceptable, you're probably better off like reheating it. It'll still be better than it would have been cold.
Agreed.
They're just meant to be eaten hot.
Unbelievable. I'm going to Albuquerque this weekend. Short vacation, very short vacation. And I'm going to the Albuquerque International Hot Air Balloon Fiesta. It is the world's biggest hot air balloon festival. And so you get out there in the morning at like 4 a.m. and the balloons start filling up. And then they have what's called a mass ascension where they all go up into the air basically at the same time. So you've got like 1,000 balloons in the air. Albuquerque is a world-class balloon destination because of the dry air and the wind pattern, which allows you to kind of like, it's called the box. If you go up in altitude, the wind is blowing one way. And if you drop down in altitude, it blows the other way. So you can just sit up in the air and hang out in your hot air balloon.
You know way more about hot air ballooning than I would have anticipated.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been going to this since I was a kid. So the reason I bring this up is that they have Tom Thumb donut stand, which is like you get a bag of little mini donuts straight out of the grease with the cinnamon sugar. Keith, they're so good.
Donuts are really good. I really enjoy donuts. They're a great treat. And eating good donuts and like going to places and eating good donuts like is a fun way to spend your time, get to know a new city.
I can't say that I've tried that, but I like the idea.
Have you been in New Orleans, Charlie? Have you had a beignet?
I've had a beignet. My brother lived in New Orleans for a few years, and I've been to Cafe Du Monde a number of times.
Yeah, I mean that is basically the same idea, just other places.
It's great. I'm not sure I'm vibing with the chicory coffee.
Yeah, the chicory coffee, I can take it or leave it, but
you just gotta like pour a lot of milk and sugar into it, and then it's okay. But
Cafe Du Monde is one of the few things that in life that lives up to the hype. Like it's like the most.
It really does.
The most popular thing is usually like not the best option, especially in food. This is not the case with Cafe Du Monde.
I could imagine that there's places that have better beignets, better coffee. I could imagine that in New Orleans. Probably. The thing is, it's the atmosphere along with the high quality everything. It's great. It's great. It's a must do. All right. Regionals. Weekend 1. It's done. We've got a bunch of teams qualified. And we're going to talk about it. We've also got an interview coming up with the player coach of Lotus, the biggest surprise of the weekend, beating double wide in the game to go in the South Central to complete a Colorado sweep. No Texas teams make it to the national championships. Love Tractor beating Public Enemy. So we will talk to Mike Lun about Lotus and their college team basically that is going to club nationals, and that team is going to be very scary. Colorado Mama Bird at the college championships coming up in December. Very scary. We're also going to preview the upcoming weekend of regionals. We've got 3 regionals left. And don't miss our subscriber bonus, where we talk about some of the crazy formats and discussion around the formats from this past weekend with, USA Ultimate kind of very surprisingly just not going with formats in the format manual, which is what they've done for the last 20 years. So some sudden changes that caught teams a little off guard, I think. So let's dig into these regionals results. Keith, where do you want to start? I was at Northeast. So we could start there.
That was going to be my exact suggestion. You read my mind. We're really on the same wavelength this morning, Charlie. I
love that. We're both having our coffee. It's National Coffee Day. We're feeling good. Let's talk Northeast. I was filming, so I only caught snippets of game. I mean, I watched full games, but I didn't, I wasn't walking around to catch the ends of lots of games. And I was only there on Sunday. So everything, with a little bit of a grain of salt. But first of all, let's just go through the qualifiers. In the women's division, Boston Brute Squad defeats Bent in the final 15-4. 15-4. Bent takes the second spot. They beat Siege 10-6 in the second place final. And Siege beat Rebel 12-9 to qualify in the game to go. In the men's division, New York Pony wins over Boston Dig in the final. Not really a competitive game. Pony pretty clearly holding off Dig in that one. And Amherst Sprout beats Big Wrench in the third place final 13-10. That game was, for a moment there, interesting, but Sprout did lead throughout. In the mixed division, Boston Slow beats Exist to get in. Boston Sprocket beats League of Shadows to get in. Those were both the semifinals. Those teams then played in a placement game, Slow beating Sprocket to win the region. And then Exist beating Wildcard in the third place final on Universe, 13-12. That was an insane game. It's in the Ultiworld video package. Go check it out.
I've already watched it. I had to go see it. I mean, somebody told me it was one of the best games we've filmed in a long time.
It was crazy. What'd you think?
It was exciting. If you're a Wildcard fan, it's tough. It's a tough ending. Someone from a Wildcard tweeted afterwards, if we could just delete that footage of the final point, that would be great. There's some big plays. There's a couple of calls, I think, that maybe could go either way. We don't have a ton of replay to really say one way or the other, but there's some really close calls, some mistakes, but that's what makes it exciting.
Oh, some big mistakes. It's not the cleanest game of Ultimate, you'll see, that's for sure. Mike Drost is a beast. I mean, this guy has been one of the best defenders in the region for so long, and I don't want to spoil it for people who watch a game, but he comes up with a big play and a big spot.
It's easy to be a good defender when there's two of you. It's way better.
It's true. It's true. So some takeaways, I think, from the Northeast. No big surprises in terms of qualifiers. Sprout almost lost to a team called Iditarod to get knocked out. I mean, they basically, it was to the brink, Keith. I was filming the final, and Sprout was playing this Iditarod team, which is basically like a Northeastern college team. And they were down for most of the second half, and Iditarod had the disc on Universe, got all the way to the goal line, and then had a pass that was really low, and there was a disputed up-down, and ultimately the Iditarod player just accepted the down call, even though from the footage that we have of this point, it looks like maybe it was up. And either way, Sprout went 70 yards the other way and scored. So crazy. They were lucky to even get into the game, but then they comfortably beat Big Wrench in that final spot. But big takeaways. Brute is unbelievably good. No surprise here, but like they just destroyed everybody this weekend. Like I thought Bent was going to be a challenge for them in the final, and it just wasn't even close. Their defense is just too good. I think the wind picking up a little bit on Sunday afternoon probably helped Brute Squad. I think they prefer a game that's a little bit more turnover heavy. I think that's sort of plays to their strengths. I don't even know. Like, you didn't get enough of a look at their O-line because of how good their defense was playing. We'll see how they do. I mean, they're clearly a semis team. They're probably a finals team. Do we see their O-line struggle like it did against Molly Brown at the finals of the Pro Championships? I mean, we'll see. But they looked incredibly sharp this weekend and just thumped everybody. I mean, they were up 8-0 on Siege in semis. So, yeah.
Well, now that we have data that confirms our priors, let's just go ignore any other evidence and say that this is the real Brute Squad. This is
Bent's good. Bent's really good. They lost a Rebel at sectionals, and it was like, is Bent actually not as good as we thought? They were missing a bunch of players that weekend, and it was very clear that having those players back made them the far better team. I mean, Rebel was not even competitive in the game. Bent easily pulling away. Gina Cartagena is still just exceptionally good, like clearly one of the best players in the region. She was so smart, like so steady, like hardly making any mistakes. Bent's going to be a tough team to deal with at Nationals, I think. It's their first time qualifying since 2015.
And I think Rebel, looked like a real team. Like, there's no shame to play a close game against them. But
they were right there with Siege in the game.
This is not a tale as old as time per se, but something we're very used to, particularly in the Northeast, which is you can be a good team and still be a long way away from competing with the best teams. And that's it seems like where we're at again.
Think about the difference, like Brute Squad winning 15-4 over a Bent team that's like clearly a top 15 team in the country.
We just it's why when we get to nationals, a lot of times we don't see close quarterfinals. I know our last club championships had some exciting ones, but a lot of times we have 3 blowouts and 1 good game in the quarterfinal round. And it's because that top tier teams is just a big step away from most of the competition.
Right. I mean, right now, Bent is 11 in the rankings, and they lost 15-4 to the number 3 team in the rankings. So there you go. Pony. People are going to want to know about Pony. Well, we said in our preview episode, Keith, that Pony was going to need to, win convincingly against Dig and win the region for us to feel like, that they are back on the right path. They more or less did that. They win 15-10 over Dig. And I think it's very obvious that adding Ben Yacht to the offense changes the shape of the field for them in a way that makes them a lot better. They have Grant Lindsley playing defense, which is an interesting wrinkle. My feeling is that their D-line has clearly improved, like from what we saw earlier this year. They look more like the Pony we expected to see. Conrad Schloer is back playing for them, and he just levels up their defense because he's taking one of the top matchups and everybody else gets a slightly easier one all the way down. Their D was very good. They created pressure against everybody, and they were effective with the disc after the turn. I thought Marquez Brownlee played really well as an offensive player after the turnover. The O-line, the jury is out. Dig is not that good. Okay, I think that's one thing to remember. Dig is not that good. I am not sure that this Pony offense is there. I have some concerns about Sean Keegan specifically. He looks like he's lost a step to me. And this is, he's coming off of a 2019 where he was unbelievable. But again, we talked about it a bunch this year. 2 years later, is Keegan quite there? I don't know. I think that handler position is a little sketchy. There was the offense wasn't perfect. So I think Pony is still, they're much better than they played earlier this year. I think they're very clearly a quarterfinals quality team. I am not convinced, Keith, that they are a semifinals quality team. That's my takeaway. It's hard to tell because they were playing teams that were beneath them. And, they did the things that they needed to do, but I think they still need to get quite a bit better from here to nationals if they want to be in the hunt for a title, because I think they're very clearly still behind Sockeye, Machine, Ring, and maybe a couple other teams.
That's understandable. I mean, it's it was surprising for Keegan to play maybe the best that we've ever seen him play in like his early 30s. That was already strange. So it felt like an outlier. So, it's no surprise that the age could catch up to him a little bit. Although I know he's out there doing the Michael Jordan, and I took that personally meme right now. Like he's not going to like it. And he can be dangerous when he's fired up, but the talent is there. So it's a little confusing why the O-line has struggled. I'm surprised to hear Grant Lindsley going to D-line instead of, Sam Little or John Randolph, players who we've seen.
Well, Sam Little on O, they can't go back to Sam Little on D after what happened in 2015.
I mean, these are players who have proven D-line acumen, and not that Grant Lindsley can't play defense, but he's a player who's known for his offensive pop. And I don't feel like the defense's problem is that they can't score after, but maybe it is. Maybe, I feel like they're getting some of that from somewhere else. But
John Randolph, I like out there on offense. Mickle played well, Kocher played well, Yop played well. Like, they were solid. But again, it's easy to look good as an offense if you're not being pressured a lot. Dig didn't create a lot of pressure against Sprout either. Their defense wasn't great. They basically got away with a win against Sprout with a couple late breaks, mostly because of mistakes from Sprout. They picked it up the intensity a little bit late in the game. But that was mostly a hold fest. And then, they just really didn't generate a lot of pressure against Pony. And Pony's offense still coughed it up. They still coughed it up. So I think, we'll see. Jury's out. They're a lot better than they were.
I'm with you that Chris Kocher played well, but I miss that, everybody talks about Jimmy and the year Colony when he looked like he was peaking and whatnot. He was just in great shape and the team was so good. Like, where is the Kocher that was with that Jimmy? Like, that Chris Kocher to me was one of the 5 best players in the men's division. And I don't feel like we've seen that guy since then. And he gets, I think, overshadowed by Mickle, and because his role is like not necessarily a big playmaking role, he's just the guy out there who gets the job done point after point after point. But I feel like there could be more asked of him. If this team wants to compete for a title, I think that we can see a higher level from Chris Kocher as well. So I'm with you that this is what we needed to see. We need to see them go out there and win comfortably. But I'm far from feeling confident about their ability to compete in that semifinals mode right now.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see changes to the lineup, to be honest. Like, they got to get – the offense has got to get better. It's got to get better. Simple as that. It looks better than it did, but it's still not where it needs to be an elite offensive unit. Mixed division – I mean, Slow gets the job done. They beat Sprocket after losing to Sprocket on Saturday. Those are 2 good teams. And, Exist and Wildcard were very evenly matched for that 3rd spot. Keith, we both picked Wildcard. We were wrong. So shout out to Exist. They send a team in all 3 divisions for the first time in a long time.
New York.
What did I say?
You just said they, as if Exist
I meant New York.
3 separate teams. I will say that I might have had a different thought. I didn't do enough research. I've not seen enough Exist, because when I look at their roster, I'm like, okay, now I see it. I see the names on here that help make it make sense that they're a really good team. I could see them doing well at nationals. Team. I mean, they, Luisa Neves, Elliot Chartok, Pedros, like, there are good players who we haven't necessarily seen compete with them in the past on this team, and give them like I think a new level of explosiveness that helps make them competitive.
I'm skeptical of like a big appearance at nationals, that They don't hold consistently, and the D-line offense is shaky.
They look a little, to me, they look, watching the tape, they look a little disorganized. Now, maybe it's because there's a huge game against Wildcard, but they just look like, maybe they haven't gotten enough reps together. And that could improve by the time they come to Nationals. But I think you're going to see a lot of teams like that in Nationals. So,
well, keep in mind, a lot of teams have their series roster now set, and they've hardly had time to play together as that roster. So teams are going to change a lot between now and Nationals, and that's always true. But it's especially going to be important this year when you haven't had those reps with your full team.
I'm just saying that when it comes to the game, like I'm going to be looking at where exists seed is.
All right. Yeah, I'm excited for the seeding process. It's going to be crazy.
Seeding is going to be so huge this year.
Where do you want to go next?
All right. Let's go to the Northwest. If we're talking big regions, let's talk another one with a lot of bids.
All right. Well, so I'm going to run down the results here. Vancouver Traffic beat Seattle Riot in the final 13-7 to take the region. They were fantastic this weekend. Seattle Riot beats Schwa in the second place final 12-9, and Schwa beats Underground in the third place final 13-8. The three teams we expected to qualify do so. Seattle Sockeye beats Emerald City in semis 15-9. Rhino beats the Killjoys in semis 15-9. So those were the games to go, and then they played a seeding game. Sockeye beating Rhino comfortably. And then the Killjoys beat Emerald City, playing with just 16 players because they had a bunch of players who don't play on Sunday. And they win the third place final 15-12 to take the third and final bid. It's the first time ever that a Utah team has made Nationals.
At least in modern history. I don't think that probably happened before that either, but
I agree. BFG wins the mixed division, beating Montana Moondog in semis, and then beating Mixtape in the final. Mixtape beats Sorta to get in easily in semis. And then Boise Loxa, I think I got that right, defeats Moondog in the third place final 13-10. Did you take Loxa last week?
I do believe I did take. No, I think I took Sorta.
You took Sorta. I took Moondog.
Yeah, I remember you took Moondog.
But it was Loxa making it. So it was crazy as we expected.
Yep, competitive.
It was crazy as we expected.
I mean, that
BFG beating Mixtape is interesting.
Loxa barely escaped the quarterfinals of the third place bracket. They beat Birdfruit 10-9. This was a close. This was probably one of the most exciting regionals, and I think maybe something where you look at the results and you start to wonder about these teams. I mean, are you concerned at all about Mixtape having lost to BFG?
You have to be. You have to be. I mean, I think to me, it probably says more about BFG being like a really legitimate contender than it does about Mixtape, not. I could see BFG making semis.
I agree with that. I feel like I've been there from the beginning of the year that BFG has sneaky semis quality. It's not surprising given some of the other changes in the Seattle scene. But I've been super high on this Mixtape team. They've been my favorite to win a title, and I got to say I'm a little concerned with this performance. I mean, granted, they were in a locked game. I mean, they were in a position where the only thing that they had to gain in that game, I mean, obviously seeding, which probably, like we said, will be pretty important, but is extremely hard to predict right now. So it's like, not like you can really game the seeding or anything, but obviously being seeded high is going to give you a better chance. But, they had already locked up a bid to national. So I don't know what their mindset is. Knowing Mixtape, it was to go out there and win this game. So it's a little nerve-wracking.
I don't think any team playing their final game of the weekend. I mean, maybe you sit some people who have like little tweaky injury stuff. But otherwise, I mean, I think you're going all out. You want to win the region.
And especially in this year where like quality reps have been hard to come by.
Yeah. I'm not giving any teams a free pass for losing that game. So, Killjoys. Let's talk about Killjoys. Pretty cool. And I heard that Bryce Merrill, who of course coaches BYU and is a big leader in the community, he's playing on the team. Said in the huddle afterwards, we now have a chance to go to nationals and play together as a full team for the full time without any of the Saturday, Sunday stuff, which is true, right? Unless they make the final, of the tournament, and they're not going to be good enough to make the final. They will be playing with their entire team for the entire tournament. And that's got to be really fun and exciting for a team from Utah, right? Like, you don't have to go down to 16 players on Sunday. It's pretty amazing they made it, honestly, playing with 16.
How much of this is a test of Utah men's ultimate? You know, how much of this we finally, like, there's no, you know, issues with the roster about who's playing and who's playing when or what teams are motivated to play against them. It's obviously not college, where mostly is where we've had these conversations, although it happens probably some level at the high school youth level as well. But, you know, how much is this a referendum on how good Utah men's ultimate is when they get to nationals?
I think it is. I think it is. I think my take is that they have a top 5 to 10 that's quarterfinals, semifinals quality level players, and then they're not deep. That's my take. I think, I think if they make pre-quarters, that'd be impressive. They're going to be one of the worst teams at the tournament, right? I mean,
you would think.
They're good. They're good, but they belong at club nationals. But they're going to be. It'd be a stretch for them to win games in pool play. That's, I think, what I expected. But indeed, this is a chance to see, how does the Utah scene stack up to nationals level competition when it matters.
Going to be a fun subplot at nationals in the men's division.
Are you surprised that Schwa ended up taking the third spot?
Not necessarily. I know that from what I've heard, they were pretty beat up. A lot of injuries for this team. We were obviously really concerned about where Riot was at coming into the weekend. So, it's a good sign, I think, for Riot to be able to get the win. But I think that it's just these three teams, even though I think Traffic is certainly going to be the favorite of the three at nationals, if they ended up, there's no order of their placement at nationals that I don't think is like conceivable. I could see Schwa being the best of these teams at nationals and Traffic being the worst. I could see Riot being the best team or the worst of the three. Like
Schwa is getting a bunch of people back, and hopefully healthy for nationals. I think they're going to be quite a bit better.
And this is a team that unfortunately will not have their best player back, Mariel Hammond. So they're playing the entire season without her. So that's obviously going to change your ceiling.
It does. It does. I think they were a semis team in my mind, or at least had a chance at it. And I think they probably aren't now. I think that's how much it hurts to lose Hammond. But I do think they're, clearly going to make quarters again. And they're tough. They're tough.
I kind of think that
great downfield cutters.
I kind of think that fourth semi spot is up for grabs, and that gives them a shot.
Mm-hmm. Anything else on Northwest?
I think
how good is Traffic? That's the other thing.
All the word on them is very impressive. I don't know what kind of reps they had prior to this, but I think that from what people have told me, they were unquestionably the best team there. We've had them hanging around the top 5 in the power rankings all year. I think that they're certainly a semis contender based on this very limited sample size. But the early signs are this is about as good as you could ask for.
Yeah, I think, you probably, do you slot them into that semi spot right now?
I think you look at them in Phoenix.
Brute, Fury, Molly, and then it's them versus Phoenix.
That's where my head's at right now. I don't think that Phoenix and Traffic, maybe they're not so far ahead of the pack that I don't think another team could squeak in there.
Seeding is going to be real important.
Matchups and seeding is going to be huge.
Huge.
And probably very erroneous given the lack of connectivity.
I don't know how they're going to do it this year.
Let's World Cup draw style.
I do my. That's honestly
this is the year. Let's do it. You can't change things in the middle. We're going to talk more about formats in our subscriber bonus segment, but come on, let's just tier the teams together into 3 or 4 tiers and then World Cup draw style the pools. It'll be exciting. We can live stream it. Let's do it.
I love it. There's almost no way to do legitimate normal seeding processes this year. Like you either have to randomize like that, or you just have to take into account a ton of things that normally you don't, because normally they use the rankings and they're pretty strict about it. I do the rankings predictions every year, the seeding predictions, and I'm usually very close to right, if not spot on. And this year, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my seeding predictions, but it's going to be based on hocus pocus and like, whatever else I can come up with, because I don't think that you can use strict rankings or regionals results to do it this year. I was just talking to somebody in the Southwest, and the mixed seeding at regionals, like Mischief is the 6th seed at Southwest Regionals. California Burrito is the 2 seed, right? We're talking about Mischief, a team that is probably a national semis team quality, although they haven't showed that this year, so we'll see. It's wacky at regionals. What's going to happen if you have upsets? I don't know. It's just a very strange year.
Super weird. And I think I expect people to be upset. I expect some people to be really upset with how things turn out. It's not really USAU's fault. They just don't have enough data to run the normal system. So like we're kind of hanging in the wind, but we'll see where it comes up. You ready to go to the Mid-Atlantic?
I am ready to go to the Mid-Atlantic. Here we go. In the mixed division, Philadelphia Amp gets the win over Space Heater 12-10. That's the game everybody was looking at. Space Heater thumped Rally in the second place game. So no big surprise there. Washington, D.C. Truck Stop defeats Vault in the final 15-7, and tough for Vault. They also lose in the game to go to Temper 14-11. So the LL see ya for Vault. Never fun. Pittsburgh Parcha defeats Grit in the final 11-10. Barn burner, as expected. One of the top games we were pointing to before this weekend, and Parcha gets the job done on double game point.
A thriller. I wish that both of these teams could be in nationals. I think it's very clear that they're both nationals quality.
They would have both qualified in a normal year. They would have both earned bids.
And I'm sure that's not going to make Grit feel much better.
No. And like now you wonder like what's going to happen with Grit. If Scandal comes back next year, does Grit come back too?
I mean, they were a national quality team with Scandal in existence. I don't see why they can't.
But it's brutally painful to lose like that. I don't know.
It is on the one hand, but like to know like, hey, we are that good. Like I could also see that being a motivating factor. Like you can go either way with this.
Sure. So what do you think about Amp beating Space Heater?
Oh, hey, is it the mixtape BFG conversation all over again? A team that we think was a title favorite losing to a team that was, a quarterfinal, semifinal qualifier in our minds. So, two really good teams, but one we thought was clearly the better, and they take the L. I mean, this is a definitely to me very, very parallel with the mixtape BFG conversation. So
does this say more about Amp being a top tier team or Space Heater maybe not getting enough?
I want to say that. I want to say that it says more about Amp, but I feel like that's as much to confirm what I already believe about Space Heater's title contention as it is about reality. I mean, maybe we've overestimated Space Heater. I can't. I'm trying to check my own bias. It's obvious though that Amp is good, right? Because we know without a shadow of a doubt that Space Heater is really, really good. So I think what this means has got to be that Amp is also really good.
Temper lost to Phantom on an insane play by Jeff Babbitt.
Insane if you've never watched Jeff Babbitt play. If you didn't watch his Callahan video, I guess it's insane.
It's fair. I mean, it's still a sick play. Like he bodies out 3 people. People are hacking him, hanging on him.
I mean, you can see why it reminds me of that play in his Callahan video where the sound drops out. And he just a guy tries to run into him and just bounces off of him. He's just too big.
That guy's
He's too big. And
I just played Gultimate. I think it may be the first time I've ever played on the same field as Jeff Babbitt. It's possible. He was at Gultimate a couple weeks ago. And he's not really like a Gultimate player. He's kind of just like roaming around out there, but you'd throw a pass and be like, this is a fine pass. It's going to be a completion. And he would just stampede out of nowhere and get a block. And you're like, oh my God. Now I see why other people you're like, why did they throw that? And it's like, because it looked wide open. So yeah, he's unbelievable, but Phantom could not get the job done on Sunday. Temper qualifies, but a little shaky.
What's your? We were kind of high on temper. I mean, they had some good regular season results. Are you? All right, I'll do it. Are you tempering your expectations here?
I just think that they are kind of who we thought they were. I think they're fine. Maybe they make quarters.
There's some interesting names still on this team. I think that their floor and their ceiling have gotten a little bit wider. That band of potential outcomes has gotten wider for them.
Convincing by truck, by the way. 15-7 they beat Vault in the final. Now, you always got to remember when there's a team that's got a second place game to play, scores can fatten because they start sitting players. Yeah. So keep that in mind. But still, I mean, truck stop. Like I wonder if this team is like legitimately a contender. I don't think I think so, but I'm not totally convinced. I want to watch the tape.
Oof, it's a tough call. I mean, I think we're going to see some semis picks for them, given their performance at the Pro Championships and then a pretty strong run through the series. So let's say it again. I mean, seeding is going to matter a lot.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's go to the North Central. Unless you have anything to say about Parcha specifically.
I'm pretty sure I picked Grit. Parcha's a team. We said that we felt like they were the more talented team, although probably not by a lot. But to me, they were a newer outfit. I mean, they're clearly a newer outfit, but that was going to have an impact on their ability to compete at the highest level, to compete under pressure. It's difficult when you're playing with players that you don't know that well. So good on them to come out and survive the fire. And I also think that really is going to benefit them at the club championships. Like, this is the kind of rallying, unifying moment of success, that celebration that gives you the taste that you can now go to the club championships feeling confident and know that you've gone through the fire with your teammates already. So I think this could be a team to watch out for at nationals. We already had them like floating around in the top 10 at points in the power rankings this year. So is this a team that
Erica Bacon, Carolyn Normile, like, they got some players.
It's not like I'm thinking they're going to make semis, but would I be surprised if they knock somebody off somewhere that is a semis contender? Absolutely not.
Let's go to the North Central. We got Minneapolis Pop beating Stellar in the final 15-10. Shout out to St. Louis Stellar. They put up more of a fight than I was expecting. Minneapolis Sub-Zero beats Madison Madmen 15-9 in the final. Avenging a sectionals loss, so there were some questions about Sub, but they win comfortably. And Dragon Thrust beats Noise in the final 13-8, and then Noise beats Kansas City United in the game to go 13-10. So basically, this went chalk, I would say. I don't really know that I have a ton of things to say about this region. Dragon's really good. Noise was the best of the rest in mixed. Sub pulled it together for regionals. Pop was clearly the best team in the women's division. Kind of chalk.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think this is a nice sign for Pop, although this may be the weakest region in the women's division. It's obviously, I think people are disappointed with Heist, who came up short of the expectations that their program is set. But this is a team with almost no returners. It is a tough situation to be in if you're Heist, and it'll be kind of back to the drawing board, and we'll see how they recruit going into next season. But that's what they're looking at now. In the mixed division, I think we all felt pretty confident about Dragon Thrust, and it really was that trio of KCU, Kansas City United, CLX, and the eventual winner Noise. I'm a little concerned that Noise played it a little close. I'm not sure that I buy that KCU and CLX are that great of shakes. So, I'm a little worried about Noise, but they're going to get there. And I guess that's ultimately what matters for them. And did you notice anybody in semifinals in the men's division that maybe drew your attention? Any teams that have duck-like qualities to their name that you saw in there?
I don't know if you saw this, Keith, but Mallard too they were making a real.
There was a lot of chirping.
Teams in front of them to just decline right? To forfeit their games so that Mallard 2 could win and then do deep look takeover. It's not to be. This has been a great run.
Imagine like some
program.
Teams had forfeited to Mallard 2, but then they get to the final and just get crushed. And all the teams that forfeited are like, why did we just do that?
Well, Mallard 2 was offering to then decline their spot so that it would like still work out.
It's fair. I mean, Mallard 1 gets all the way to semifinals. Mallard 2.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a great year. It was a good year, Mallard 2. It's been a fun ride, but we'll settle for ninth place, I guess.
Maybe the Mallard 1 and 2 should merge into a Mallard super team, and that would have been enough
Super Mallard?
to Sub-Zero.
All right, now that we've completed the Mallard arc,
it would become a horse-sized duck. Keith.
I think that we may have to ban the term Mallard from the show after this.
I've enjoyed it.
It's been a great run, but I think that other people might be sick of it.
Probably. Okay. Anything else to say about North Central?
No. This was like you said, a pretty chalky region.
All right, and that brings us to our final region of the weekend, and it is the South Central. Very interesting results. Molly Brown goes to Texas and plays one game and wins at 15-4 over Houston Crush City and goes home as a Nationals qualifier. So that was weird. In the men's division, Johnny Bravo defeats Double Wide in the final 13-11, and then Double Wide loses to Lotus 13-10 in the game to go. So they also go LLC and miss Nationals for the first time. And I don't even know. Like, I do not remember the last time Double Wide and Bravo both didn't qualify out of the South Central men's.
I'd have to look it up, but yeah, I can't recall such a time either.
They lost some players to other teams this year. They lost some players, who didn't want to play with the program, and I feel like it's like reboot time for Double Wide after this year. Like, that's tough.
And I think that it feels like they've had a generation kind of like age out. Like there's a changing of the guard that has to happen.
Yep. We'll talk more about Lotus, and we'll obviously hear from Mike Lun, player coach on the team, in just a moment. In the mixed division, Fort Collins Shame beats Public Enemy 13-7 in the final. So they were the class of the region, as we thought. And then Public Enemy, they go LL. See ya. They lose 12-11 to Denver Love Tractor. So Keith, Love Tractor flips the script. They decided, you know what? Let's stop peaking at the first tournament of the regular season, and let's actually show up and win at regionals. And they pulled it off.
Is it bad that I can't remember if I picked them? I remember talking trash about them, but I still might have picked them, I think.
I picked Public Enemy. I think you did too, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Somebody check the tape. But that's a tough way to end the year. It's and the Texas teams getting swept in Texas after all the drama. I mean, it's tough.
It's tough. It's a tough scene. Shout out to Julia on Love Tractor, longtime friend. And shout out to Chewy, my Summer League teammate. And I owe him this one.
Oh, wow. I did not know that was coming, folks. You're seeing a live reaction to that. I had no idea that was coming.
I don't know if that was any good, but shout out to Chewy for pulling it off. And he was texting me before the tournament. He's like, you should have picked us. You should have picked us. And I was like, all right, well, we'll see what happens. And they pulled it off. So Colorado sweep. And
Love Tractor, I mean, consistency has never been the name of the game with Love Tractor, but we know that there is talent there. And this is another team who has some upset potential, I think, in nationals. Who knows what kind of quality they're going to be playing at. But there's some playmaking here that I know I wouldn't want to have to play if I just like lost a tough emotional game or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, solid team. I mean, I think, Shame clearly is still the most dangerous team here. I think Love Tractor's ceiling in my mind is probably like maybe quarters, probably pre-quarters. But they got a lot of good players on the roster. So we shall see. Man, what a brutal season for Public Enemy.
Yeah.
They get like multiple COVID things. They're like the center of this firestorm at SFI West. And, people are like being nasty to them, even though they did everything right. And then they go to regionals and they lose back-to-back games to go. And then they don't go to nationals. Ouch.
That's hard.
Painful.
It's very, very hard. But they're a good team that they've suffered through some tough challenges before. They've also seen some highs. So they'll bounce back, I imagine. But it's never been easy in the South Central mixed division. I feel like they never have enough bids for all the good teams that they have.
Yeah, totally.
What man? I gotta say, I know there was some talk on Twitter about beating this team up. I'm not here to beat them up, but just more us. Like, man, we were not right with the flash flood hype before the year.
Ooh, what did they?
They finished finishing.
Yikes!
I mean, I was skeptical a little bit. I'm always skeptical, the same way I was in Parcha. Talented team, but new outfit. Like, it's just hard to be really good in your first year. The teams like High Five are few and far between. I was always a bit withdrawn on the expectations for them, but a lot of hype without a lot of results.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we generated the hype in some ways.
I mean, it wasn't like they weren't
really
tweeting. They were tweeting every roster addition they had. So if they generation,
I mean, they legitimately had a roster that looked pretty good. I never expected them to qualify for nationals, but I thought they might be a team that could like get into a meaningful game on Sunday. But 8th is not close.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they were. If a team was going to come up and do what Lotus did, I mean, it felt like it could be someone like Flash Flood. I don't know what they ended up like as far as who ended up being present for them. Maybe that had an impact, but obviously not the kind of results that we had hoped for. Hopefully the team is able to kind of rebound because I think they're doing some really interesting things. It's a program that we want to, I want to see continue and hope that they flourish, but not a great start. But not every journey starts off with a bang,
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Mike Lun from Boulder Lotus joins us on Deep Look. Joining us now on Deep Look is Mike Lun, who is one of the coaches for Colorado Mama Bird, as well as a player coach for Boulder Lotus, which just made nationals in the South Central Division, beating Double Wide in the game to go. Mike, welcome to the program.
Thanks. Good to be here.
So we got a lot of questions. I'm excited to talk about Lotus and what this team is all about. But first and foremost, tell us about the game to go. How did it play out? And what's it like to have made club nationals?
Definitely exciting. It's sort of, I probably hasn't completely hit me yet, but as far as the game, we played them in pool play, or actually, semis, because it was double elimination bracket on Saturday. We actually went down 5-1 in that game and clawed our way back. So we kind of had a good idea of what we wanted to do and some adjustments offensively. Although the game started off pretty rough. We held the whole game, but definitely a rocky start offensively. Few turns, few miscues. And I think the guys sort of started to settle down. And defensively, we kept it pretty simple, knew our matchups. I think it was mostly about having a good mark on Abe, putting pressure on, and taking advantage of the few turns we were able to get. And yeah, it just sort of worked out for us.
Does your O-line never get broken?
Ever? I wish. In that game. Yeah, we did avoid getting broken. We had I think 2 turns on the first point, and they were probably within 10 yards of breaking us at least twice. But yeah, I know Danny Landisman had a big block on one of them. And I think Connor Tabor played really good dump D that just sort of forced a miscue turn. And after that, I think really settled in.
Do you feel like, this the performance in that game and across the weekend, was the team playing really to its ceiling, or was this just par for the course for how Lotus can compete?
That's a good question. I think if you were to ask the guys, they would say they're just getting started for sure. My take is, it's all about growth. We just preach that all the time. Like it's sort of icing on the cake. This is a team that sort of lost 2 years together, at least as far as the college series goes. And I think they were just really hungry to get some reps together. And we approached the season that way with we always talk about how your time in college it's over before you know it. And so getting this time together was really valuable for everyone. And just that thought about getting better every day. I think, there were a lot of growing pains, especially mentally for this group, because I think we are so young and finishing games was a struggle. Also, like losing tempers was an issue, and identifying those weaknesses, over the course of a club season turned out to be a huge advantage for us. And now we know what we need to work on. And I think we've improved on those even in the last few weeks. And now we have club nationals, which is totally awesome. And then, I've gotten a few texts like, so your tune up for college nationals is club nationals, which, it's pretty sweet.
Okay. So I just want to go back, right? When I saw this roster back early in the season, I was like, oh, this is smart. Colorado is, putting together a team to get some reps during the club season and, take advantage of the opportunity to play after a long hiatus. And then it was like, oh, Lotus is kind of good. Like they're like showing up and competing at these events. And now I'm like, oh, Lotus is at club nationals. Was that a surprise to you? Not necessarily in like whether you were capable of making nationals or not. I think a lot of teams that are good enough to be competitive at regionals at least believe in the back of their mind that they have a chance to make nationals. But was that ever the intention of this team to try to go to nationals? And, now here you are.
That's a good question too. I think, it's on every team's like sort of the back of their mind. Everybody wants to play at the highest level. That said, like, again, is our sole purpose was to just get better and grow and get reps together. I always knew that we sort of had a puncher's chance to upset Double Wide if it came to it, but it really wasn't the goal. I think at the beginning of the season, some of the younger guys, this is again sort of on that growth mindset. They had they wanted to trash talk a little bit, like we know we can compete. We can compete with Bravo and Double Wide in the region. But I kind of tried to remind everybody like that's not the goal. Like we don't need to focus on them. We just need to focus on getting better as a group. And I think over the course of, the last 5 months or so, they really bought into that. And we were kind of okay with whatever result we were going to have as long as we kind of stuck to that value.
I'm sure it's very comforting to the likes of Double Wide and Hip to know that even in a developmental focus, you still were able to get the better of them on the way to the club championships. I mean, you're putting this team in a position to play in potentially 3 national championship tournaments in like a 9-month span, a triple peak. I don't know. It's an intense journey. How do you balance out the focus between what's coming up in the fall in college, between this club championship and a potential championship in spring?
Yeah, so there's a lot of unknowns. We've never been through this before. I think I'm a little concerned as coach is just for burnout mentally and physically. I have a ton of confidence and faith that they'll be fine, but it's just something to consider. I think making sure that we're managing time and understanding that they're busy. Like we have some who have recently graduated and are able to play the fall and have full-time jobs. I mean, as you know, all teams kind of go through this, but with this amount of load at that level of competition, I think it really is an unknown for us. So we'll kind of play it by ear and make sure that we're giving them what they need and taking time off if that's best for our mental and sort of physical state, I suppose.
What percentage of this Lotus team is currently Colorado students?
That's a good. I'd have to look at the roster, honestly. I think because I'm not sure. I think we have 26 rostered. Isaac Chesler, who was one of our 2019. Well, I guess he wasn't a captain that year, but he was one of our leaders. He actually ended up tearing his ACL in practice, which was a huge loss for us. He's such a strong leader for us and one of our best defenders. So he's not in college. Alex Tatum's not in college. Obviously, I'm not in college. Kevin Johnson, who's one of our coaches, is not in college. And we actually picked up Matt Bristol in midsummer, like late July. And he's not even really affiliated with Mama Bird, but we really felt like he kind of embodied what we were trying to do. So that's 5 guys that are in college. I think Zane Barber. So 6. I think there's 20 guys at least that are playing the fall series. I'm not sure how many of them are actually in school though.
Right, but that are at least eligible to play in this upcoming tournament.
Right, yeah.
I mean, how much confidence does this give you about this unit heading into that college tournament and series coming up? I mean, you know, I would imagine you're thinking national championship.
Yeah, I suppose it's always sort of the goal for Colorado, you know, like we play, you know, we always expect to be one of the last 4 teams, at least, you know, that's what we strive for. But honestly, I'm not even really thinking about it yet. It's just my mind is so focused on the club season still. Fortunately, we have such a good staff. I mean, Bob Cryer, now we have Nethercutt, Owen Westbrook, and Kevin Johnson. That's 5 really high level, you know, minds. And so Bob is taking care of Mama Bird stuff right now. I still help with, you know, administrative stuff, but yeah, I guess to answer your question, it gives us a ton of confidence for sure. But I'm just going to try to make sure we stay humble because there's still some really good teams out there, and I don't know what those rosters are going to look like yet either.
I mean, you already have young guys who, you know, kind of want to talk some trash to club teams. I mean, how do you keep them humble when it comes to college teams? I mean, it's hard for me to imagine they're not going to want to strut their stuff against these college kids that they're going to be playing against after going up against, you know, 3-point loss to Sockeye. Like that is something few college kids are going to be able to say that they can put up a Sockeye-like effort.
Well, speaking of Sockeye, I mean, they're probably the only team that has more teenagers than we do. So it's obviously they have a ton of veterans on that team, but I don't know. I think it's just a continual reminder. You know, our group me is pretty active, and it's not just me that's reminding them. Like Alex Tatum, he is such a good leader. He does everything the right way. Like, I think once he was sort of on board with this idea in maybe April, that's when like we kind of knew it could be a thing, because without that leadership and the example of guys like him and Isaac, I think our heads would be super inflated right now. So I think it's a concern for anybody that age, you know, or even my age. Young people are still figuring things out. You know, they haven't experienced a lot of stuff yet. So, but I think I have a ton of faith in them, like I said, and we have sort of the role models to keep them sort of locked in, I suppose.
Is Bravo mad that you kept a bunch of players off their roster? I'm sure you have at least 5 or 6 players that could have made that team.
I'm not sure. They've actually been super supportive. I think maybe at first, before they realized the goal of the team, and maybe that it definitely wasn't about taking talent away from them. There's also the added benefit. It was sort of a perfect storm because 2021 results don't really affect 2022 rankings. So I didn't really have that conversation with Bravo explicitly, but overall they've been super supportive, since Solstice, which is an early season tournament for us in Colorado. We played them twice there and went 1-1. I think, on Saturday they were playing a lot of their tryouts, and on Sunday they kind of kicked their butts, win in finals when they beat us. But yeah, since then they've been willing to mentor. I mean, obviously they have a lot of Mama Bird alumni on that team as well, so they just want to see us succeed.
And they have a lot to gain. I'm sure they have. I'm sure you could pitch them on the long-term vision. If Lotus probably is, for all I know, I guess it could be a team that's going to contend for nationals every year. But I imagine that they see the chance to takes advantage of some of the developmental players on this team as they get better. I actually want to ask a little bit about the trajectory of Mama Bird. You get the peak of title in 2014. And then the team dips a little bit from there, especially obviously in 2018 where they failed to qualify for the college championships, and 2017, not a great year at nationals either. And then you have this great semifinal run in 2019. You have this young core on the team that, kind of has a weird path now with these couple of lost years, so to speak. How do you refocus the team, and what do you see as the future of this Mama Bird program given all these changes?
Really, I don't know. Honestly, I guess I'm just so thankful that we have the talent we do right now, and I'm so grateful that we have the staff that we do right now. 2018 was super rough. Obviously, not making nationals for the first time, I think, in 20 years. Actually, what I found after that season was after the disappointment, a huge outpouring of support from, former players, who still believed in us. And I think my biggest regret from that year is probably not just getting Bob to come onto the staff sooner, because he's been so great. Like, he has been part of the program forever, but just hadn't been coaching for a while. And having him and now, bringing Nutt on, I think it's such a good combo of leadership, guys that, all of us can learn from, including myself. And I don't know. We'll see. I'm just excited about what we have now, and hopefully we can keep it going.
What's this team capable of at nationals? I'm looking over the season, roster right now. You got the win against Bravo, as you mentioned, at Solstice, maybe playing against some of a weaker lineup from them. Otherwise, your only win against the nationals qualifying team is Dig. You went 1-5 at pro championships, competitive games with good teams, but still mostly losses. Does this team have aspirations to try to make the bracket, say? And do you think that's possible?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's possible. Not even something I've thought about. I guess you'll just kind of keep hearing the same answer from me. Like,
yeah,
the results themselves, I'm not too worried about. But I think, we have, just like we had a puncher's chance of making nationals, I think we have a puncher's chance to making quarters. Finishing games has been an issue for us, and if we can get over that hurdle, I don't see why not. We were up 9-6 against Truck Stop, and they end up in finals of Pro Champs.
Yep,
we were up 11-9 against Temper, could not finish that game. So, I think we'll be focusing on that aspect. We tend to start games pretty well, but kind of taper off, and if we can, we'll just focus on that that part of the game. And if we can improve, then maybe we'll find ourselves in quarters.
Who's the best player on this team?
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah, it's funny. Me? Not me. It depends on what you're looking for, I guess. I really think that Matthew A.G. Jarvis, we call him Jarvis, is, he's probably one of the best 5 goal scorers, I think, in the game right now. Landisman, super strong player, super well-rounded. Alex Atkins, he's a super fiery guy and huge for our D line, and if we get broken, he can cross over, and then obviously Alex Tatum, who I've mentioned already, is just from a leadership standpoint, he kind of does a little bit of everything. But I don't know, I couldn't tell you who our best player is, but we have a lot of good young talent for sure.
Are we gonna see? I want the club championship, college championship. Like, I want to see somebody. It feels so anachronistic for a team to come out and be able to win both. It feels like something you'd read on Score Reporter from 1989 or something. But here we have a team that really could try and go out there. I mean, I remember when my college would send a team to club sectionals for our tryout tournament. And maybe you joke about, maybe we'll win the section. Maybe we'll go to regionals. Maybe we'll go to nationals or whatever. And here you have this team going to nationals. It's very, very exciting to see. And certainly I think bodes very well for Colorado's chances in the college series.
I mean, I think there's a question about, among college teams that have played as club teams in the club season, is this one of the best ever? I mean, my memory doesn't go that deep. I remember some of the Pittsburgh teams that were playing as Oakland. There have been teams that I think have been good, maybe even some that have made club nationals, but you guys competed for real at pro championships. Like, I just don't think that there's a lot of college programs that could put together a team that could do that.
Yeah, I know. I just feel super fortunate to have this group. Super proud of them.
Awesome. Well, best of luck in San Diego. Look forward to seeing you out there, and excited to see what this team can do when we get around to college nationals in California in a couple months.
Sweet. Yeah, thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Keith.
Mike Lun with us here on Deep Look. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Deep Look. Great to hear from Mike Lun, and man, it's amazing that team is playing as well as they are. And to me, this upgrades them in my mind for college nationals in December, Keith. I think, are they the number 1 team? Do you put them number 2 behind UNC?
That's where I think I have to slot them. Look, it's definitely upgrades them, even though it may not have actually upgraded their spot in the power rankings. I mean, this was a really good young team in 2019. So they're exactly the type of team. Plus they have the intense alumni network to help power a fall run. So this is exactly the type of team I think we should expect to do very well in this fall series. It's the spring series, perhaps, where they still would have been a favorite, but now they're probably even higher up. I mean, you got to think that the likes of Alex Atkins and, Matthew Agee and Danny Landsman would make Bravo better. Yeah. So Bravo is taking the long view here by, not pushing harder to recruit these players, I think.
So if you're listening to the show, we'd love you to take a moment and go and give us a rating wherever you listen to the podcast. If you go on iTunes, we'd love to get a review. Hit that 5 stars. And if you're a YouTube listener, watcher, please go ahead and like the video and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. helps us out. And, we don't plug this often, but it's important to help us, move up the podcast leaderboards. So thanks for doing that. XEUCF this weekend, Keith. European Championships about to start. And it's been a weird year. I mean, even weirder in Europe than in the US. There's basically been no competition outside of national championships in each of the countries. So now everybody's going to go and they're going to play this one tournament to decide a continental champion. And of course, tons of coverage from our sister podcast, Eurozone. They've got a preview episode out now and tons of previews up on the website as well. We'll have coverage from there. And there will be live streaming available on YouTube. That'll be embedded on our ultiworld.com/live page. So check that out. Thoughts on XEUCF, Keith? You got some picks you want to make?
I don't know. I don't know if I feel like I can confidently make picks. Although, falling back on the favorites is tried and true. Your Clapham's in the men's division. In the women's division, I think that Yaka is going to be a good challenge for Cusp Shout, but I favor the Italians there too. And in the mixed division, that's the one I know. Hrut is a powerful team. I've been, as big a fan of Floor Colorts as you're going to find in the States, I'd say, but I don't know. Something feels off. I feel like there's a lot of contenders in the mixed division. So that's the division where I really don't know. Could Southspills could the Latvians come out here and get a win? We've seen they've been really good. The Latvians.
They're the reigning champs, and they added Orlovskis. I think that they're the team to beat.
Oh my God, Orlovskis is so good, so good. You've got a team that played really, really well against Southspills with Putti. So I don't know. I feel like we get some fireworks and mix. Maybe I'm just conditioned by the USAU mixed competition, but I feel like you get some fireworks there, and then it'll be more about the favorites in the other divisions. I might have after looking into it, I might have thought that the Bad Skid could have been a good push, but they're just missing a few too many key players, I think.
So who you taking?
I'll take Clapham, Shout, and then in the mixed division.
Okay.
I think I'm with you. I think I'm going to go with the Latvians.
Trying to decide if I think that La Fota can beat Clapham. I'm really not sure. I think I'm going to take La Fota over Clapham again.
I like it. I like the spice.
And I'm going to take Shout. And I'm going to take Salaspils.
All right.
Those are my picks. So it should be fun. Looking forward to following it along. If you want more, check out Eurozone and check out the previews up on the website. Let's look ahead to regionals weekend number 2. We've got 3 regions on the board. It's the Southeast, the Great Lakes, and the Southwest. And should be fun. Keith, where do you want to start? Should we start in the Great Lakes?
Absolutely not. Let's go to my old stomping grounds in the Southeast. How about that?
Southeast. Okay, let's do it.
So the Southeast, there's some fire marks, on these previews. There's some fire emojis to indicate the level of excitement that we have. And it's because of, I think, really the last bid available. In the women's division, Phoenix is going to be the heavy favorite, but we have no idea. They have 2 bids because there's no real reason for this region to have 2 bids. But they do have 2 more top 25 teams in Tabirosa and Ozone. No idea which one of those teams will be favored because we basically don't know anything about this Ozone team. For all we know, they could be really good and be in contention for a quarterfinal spot, or they could be a shell of themselves and not even make nationals.
Right.
So I don't know what to expect from them. I think this is one of the better Tabby teams that we've seen in a while. So they'll be a good test for Ozone. So if Ozone beats Tabby, I think then, it'll be a good sign for them, but it's not going to be an easy test. I don't think.
I mean, Phoenix is going to thump.
Yes.
I gotta be honest. I think I'm going to take Ozone.
I don't think that's an unreasonable position. It's kind of a mystery box.
It is a mystery box. I just think, I trust the legacy. They're picking up some players I didn't expect to have on the roster, like Leah Sinagini is playing with them. I think they're going to be. They have the talent in the city to pull together a really good team. And I think a lot of people who may have been sitting out, decide, you know what, I'll step up and I'll play in the series. So, I mean, like, what's their roster look like? I mean, do you feel convinced by their roster, Keith?
I want to see the vets. Like, that's the thing that I want to know that they have. And I haven't seen their roster. So, if they have the veterans who've been there before, who played together before, I'm going to feel a lot better about their chances. But if it's kind of like a mishmash, like if they're closer to like what we've seen with a team like Heist, where, you know, it's a handful of returners, a line's worth of returners, and then, you know, college players or players who played on second teams, joining up. Like, I think that's a very possible position for them to be in. And Tabby is not deep, but their top end players are really good. And, you know, in a tournament where I don't think there are going to be like a lot of drawn out games that are going to gas Tabby, like that, I think is a recipe for Tabby Rosa to take the bid. I mean, they're the higher ranked team in our power rankings, although to be fair, we basically, like I said, there's nothing really to go on in those zones. So
I'll hit you with some names. I've got the roster pulled up. I mean, it's definitely not. Yeah, I mean, because it's in, they played sectionals. So they've got the roster locked on USA Ultimate.
There you go.
Samantha Dougherty, Mira Walker. I mentioned Sinagini. A lot of names I don't know for sure. Paige Carver, I feel like is a familiar name.
Yeah, she's been with Ozone a long time.
Definitely some names that I don't know. So
I'm gonna pull up the roster.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you would know better than I.
I mean, you're already starting with a good core. Mira Walker, someone who was on a trajectory to be potentially the best player on this team at one point, had some struggles with injuries, so I don't know where she'll be at. Obviously, it's been a long time since we've gotten to see her play, but I mean, this was a national team player, so she could be a really big core piece for them. So I'm curious if I can get the roster to load on
Madison
on
Bolt.
UCF.
That's a great name. That's a great name.
Not a name I'm familiar with.
Me neither, but it's great to have the last name Bolt as an athlete.
Yeah. All said though, I'm curious. I mean, I see why there's some hype around this because it's one of those, like, these teams can be really evenly matched, but we really don't know what we're going to get. And it's going to be important to learn about which one of these teams can if they're going to be able to compete at nationals at a high level. So
what say you about the roster?
I'm trying not to make bad radio for you, but it's literally just loading. We'll pull up.
It's still just loading. Okay, well,
just spinning wheel on. I'm
gonna move forward. Men's division is not going to be particularly interesting, I don't think. Ring versus Chain in the final. I'm intrigued. Number 4 versus number 5 in the power rankings. We haven't seen Ring really. I mean, they played sectionals, but otherwise, I mean, I think Ring's a better team, but Chain has much more consistency. I mean, you could argue Ring is similar to Chain. They both playing mostly in the AUDL. But Ring's adding a bunch of pieces, whereas Chain is a little bit more, I think, kind of the same unit. And also Chain played in the regular season.
Well, Chain added some big names in sectionals.
That is true.
So they got a couple things to integrate.
Andrew Roney coming through. I like that. That's a nice pickup for them. I think they're going to be a really good team. I think I take Ring in a close game. Chain should easily qualify in the 2 spot, but there are some other teams in this region that are not a joke. Tanasi is going to get, they're taking a solid foundation, and like John Lithio is going to be playing with them. So that's a nice pickup. Raleigh-Durham United, solid. The Expendables, like a Ring alumni team, solid. I don't think any of those teams are good enough to beat Ring or Chain, but I think they're going to all battle with each other, and game to go could be interesting.
Agreed. And I think that, I really don't expect a team to upset either of them, but you could get a really exciting game to go, and you could get, I could see a dangerous semifinal. I could see somebody in that 11-11 scare and pull away. That's the kind of environment that you have, and then maybe you're setting somebody up to have a worse game in the final, but mostly, we're all trying to see between Chain and Ring who's going to be the top squad. Mixed division, they are a one bid region again, and Toro is going to be the heavy favorite. I was real high on Toro in the beginning of the year.
Are they the heavy favorite?
I think so. I mean, they're the number 7 team in the power rankings.
That's true.
And I'm not sure I actually really see a team that's going to push them. Now, they have been a little inconsistent. But I'm not buying on Super Lame given the turnover in the roster from their incredible run at 2019 Nationals. It's still unbelievable how well they did. And then, Shine, have we really seen any consistency on their part? The big names are there. They got a big names on the top end, but we just haven't seen them deliver, have we?
No, I don't think we have. I mean, Super Lame, I don't know. They're kind of interesting to me. And they pick up Devin Cox, Caroline Taylor, Tim McAllister coming over from Ring. I mean, Tim McAllister is going to be one of the best defenders in the mixed division instantly. Do I think it's enough to beat Toro? Maybe not. Probably not. I think Toro's just so much deeper than these other teams that's going to pay off when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I don't see it. So I think we're going to see Toro take care of business here. But it's a quality region, maybe even deserving of 2 bids. I don't know.
Jesse Schaffner going to go, turn on the Jets and power Shine to a win.
Back in Oregon Fugue Day takeover mode.
Yeah, takeover mode.
Maybe. I'm not sure that I see it on either of these teams. I mean, they're still, Ben Dieter's still on Super Lame. Maybe that's enough to help get them there, but I just think they're missing too many pieces.
I don't know. What I'll say is this: Toro feels like a little bit of an overinflated team in a scary region with a bunch of teams that are good enough to beat them. I think I'm still going to take Toro.
Is it kind of like in the aggregate, like the field is enough to just kind of wear Toro down and then somebody gets them? I don't know. I think, I don't know if I see the same thing. I'm still high on Toro.
I'm taking Toro either way.
So. Fair.
I'm taking Toro. I'm taking Phoenix and Ozone, and I'm taking Ring and Chain.
All right. I'm also taking Toro, Ring and Chain, and now I've finally seen the Ozone roster. I'm taking Tabby.
I like it.
I'll take Phoenix and Tabby.
I like it.
I mean, I think that shout out to a number of players that I've worked with or coached with or coached on this Ozone roster. I'm rooting for them, but I don't know. I'm not sure I see it.
But
I've coached a bunch of Tabby players too, and Tabby themselves. So I'm biased both ways.
It's very conflicting. All right, well, let's go to the Great Lakes and let's just get it out of the way. Chicago Machine is going to thump everybody so hard.
You don't say.
1 bid for the men's division. I don't really think there's much to say. I don't even think we're going to learn very much this weekend, unless Machine plays weirdly close and we worry about them. But they could win games 15-5, and I don't think I'm going to be particularly. It's not going to move the needle for me. It's crazy how uncompetitive this region is this year for men's.
Not much of a test for them. There's not a lot to go up against. I mean, I think any club will be solid, but they could lose 15-9, and that would be a fine performance for them.
In the women's division, you've got 2 bids, and Rival and Nemesis, your favorites, in that order, but it's close. I mean, I think that final should be quite interesting. I don't think there's really anywhere else that you see a team that could beat them, in the game to go or something. I think they're pretty far ahead of the rest of the pack. Similar story to the men's division here.
And we've seen the Great Lakes like this for a while. I mean, I feel like it's been Rival and Nemesis. Could you draw up a better head-to-head, right? I mean, their names literally mean like we're going up against each other over and over again. And that's how it's developed. Rival and Nemesis. they're right next to each other in the power rankings. A game between them is a coin flip. I'm going to pick Nemesis, but I feel like I'm just taking a stab between two teams that are very even. I think Nemesis though has a higher ceiling.
I kind of do too. I mean, Iris Javersack ended up on Crocs and not on Rival. I feel like that's bad for Rival. Rival's just kind of bled talent a little bit. I also am going to take Nemesis over Rival here, and obviously I'm taking Machine and Men's.
Yeah, I will take Machine in Men's, and I think that takes us to the hardest part, which is figuring out what's going to happen in Men's.
Let's get to it. So we have 2 1 flame / 0 flame emoji regions, and now we're going to a 5 flame. There's not too many 5 flames out there, but this is one of them. This is an insane 1 bid region. This is a region that would probably have had 3 bids in a normal year, and instead it's 1. And where do you start? The favorite, likely, I would say, Ann Arbor Hybrid. Good team. They've been a good team for a few years, and they've beaten the other teams in this region, but they've also lost to Crocs. So they're ranked number 9 in the power rankings right now. Cleveland Crocs is ranked number 12 in the power rankings. This is kind of like a combo of Smokestack and Notorious CLE and some other teams in the area. And so this is kind of like a Cleveland super team playing in the mixed division. Very good. You also have Cocktails, which was the 2018 and 2019 regional champ in this region. And, Sadie Jezierski, Penny Wu. Then you've also got Chicago U54 coming out of the woodwork. They're ranked number 18 right now. And they're kind of a similar story as a bunch of like old veterans, but like really good players. I don't know what their conditioning and their fitness is going to look like, but we've seen them do damage in this region in the past playing as UPA. So there you go, Keith. Who you taking?
It's tough. I mean, I don't know. Is U54 just like busting out the claws during the finals on the sideline?
Probably.
Like, I don't know. And maybe that makes them better. I don't know. Cocktails probably is the best women matching lineup of any team in the region. Is that enough to power them forward? I mean, you mentioned Sadie and Penny Wu. They still have Emily Barrett, the goal scoring machine. Hybrid's been the best of these teams during the regular season, but can they deliver in the clutch? I don't know. And I'm going to look at Crocs' results because I don't know if their results scare me more than the roster. Like when I look at the roster, I feel like they're the team I want to pick. But then I look at their season and I'm just not that. They've been shaky.
It's definitely been up and down.
This is really hard. I'm glad that they. No, I'm not glad. I wish that they had 2 bids. I mean, it would be hard to pick with 2 bids. That's where we're at. I wish they had 2 because I feel like I have 2 teams that I want to pick. And picking between them is hard. I'm gonna go Crocs. I think.
Taking Crocs.
I think I'm gonna go Crocs here. But this is the hardest region that we picked in this entire process.
Definitely. I'm going to take Hybrid. I'm going to say that the fact that they've now beaten Crocs twice in a row in August and September.
That's what worries me.
Yeah. I listen, I think taking Crocs is very sensible. I just think you're basically saying is like a really good combo Michigan team better than a really good combo Cleveland team. And I'm going to take Michigan there. But I think it's very close, and I think it's fun. And honestly, they could both get upset by Cocktails.
Yeah, I think U54 is the other team that I'm... Like, if we had 2 bids, I think I'd pick Crocs and U54.
You think U54 is going to be good enough, huh?
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Bosher...
Yeah, that's a sneaky...
By herself.
That's a sneaky move right there.
AJ Nelson's on the stage. I mean, they're good.
They're good.
I don't know what their care level is, but
I mean, how much was UPA's care level? They went to the bracket.
They didn't make nationals, right?
Yes, they did.
Oh, they
Remember
did.
when UPA made nationals? Yes.
That's true. They did.
They did.
It's crazy to talk about this region and like how deep it is, and like we're not even talking about Steamboat. You know what I mean? Like that's some depth.
It's crazy deep. So I'm doing it. I'm saying hybrid. I'm taking hybrid. I think U54 is going to come up a little bit short. I think Cocktails has proven this year that they're not quite as good as they used to be. And I think Crocs that's a matchup problem with hybrid.
Maybe there is some sort of matchup problem that I don't see, or not that I don't see that is going to get in the way of Crocs. It is definitely concerning. And hybrid has only lost one game this year though, and it was to Crocs. So
that's true.
They may have the series against Crocs, but we know Crocs can beat them. To be fair, it was all the way back in July. You know, it was a long time ago. But yeah, I'm gonna take Crocs.
All right.
I'm taking Crocs.
Right.
I'm sticking with it.
All right, love it. Let's move to the Southwest. You know, we're going to move over to the Southwest, and then we're going to move somewhere else in the Southwest, and we might have to move somewhere else in the Southwest.
Wait. We also have to move again.
Oh no!
Late news.
Late news. The Southwest Regional was supposed to be in Norco, California, and the fields were double booked. Yikes! And teams found out like less than a week ago. Yikes! So it sounds like at this point it's finalized. The mixed division will be near Norco in the Central Valley. In Southern California, and the men's and women's divisions are going to be held at the Golden Gate Polo Fields up in the Bay Area. Obviously, teams are not thrilled about this because teams from Southern California weren't planning to have to get, flights and hotels and stuff, and then teams from the Bay, have to try to get refunds, and I'm sure it's going to be a just big mess. I will say this, thankfully, a lot of policies right now around travel are generous with cancellation. The airlines have mostly eliminated change fees. You might have to use your money as a voucher in the future, but for most people, that'll be doable because you get a year to use the funds. You can use them next club season if you have to. It should be decently okay, but I'm sure it's a pain. And I think it always sucks not to have all of the regions, all three divisions playing together at the same field site, because that's when you get everybody walking over and watching Exist versus Wildcard at the end. Packed sidelines. Like, that stuff's super fun. But anyway, let's get into the competition. Which division you want to start with, Keith?
Let's start with the women's division.
Okay.
So, shocker. Fury's the favorite. They just rename it the Fury region. I mean, it's their region. I would need to see somebody beat them like 3 years in a row for me to not be like, okay, Fury's going to win the Southwest. I feel like, it's a 3-bid region. Fury and Nylock, I think, are pretty big favorites in that order. Like, there's a big gap between them to take those 2 bids. So it's going to come down to Wildfire and LOL, I think, to decide who's going to take the last spot. There's a lot of turnover for Wildfire. LOL, I don't even know if you would say that they have a consistent roster. I mean, I feel like they just get together for this tournament, and maybe another tournament during the year or something like that. I favor Wildfire in that matchup, but like, I guess that the old dogs in Oakland could take them down. I'm
telling you right now, I'm done thinking that LOL is going to do anything ever.
Exactly.
They like 2-3 years ago, LOL, this scary team, a bunch of veterans, and they're like, we're terrible. Sorry, I don't see it. I think Wildfire, even in its diminished state this year, they lose a bunch of players, still going to qualify. I don't think it's necessarily going to be that close. So I'm selling. I've already sold on my LOL stock. I've been out.
I don't even think. The thing is, I don't know if LOL's like, hey, our goal is here is to go to nationals. Yeah. You know, like I don't think they're getting. I think they're getting together to have a good time playing Ultimate together. Yeah. I mean, their team name is literally LOL.
I remember you're going to Northeast Regionals. Ooh, team of friends. Ooh, scary team. Bunch of veterans. They didn't even come close to making a game to go.
Look, if your team name is about just chilling together, like that's a sign to not.
I respect it. I think it's great. I think you do that. That sounds fun. I would like to be on a team like that, but I'm also not picking them to go to nationals.
Fair.
So I'm going Fury, Nightlock, Wildfire. Chalk.
Me too, in that order. Chalk it up.
Okay. In the men's division, 2 bids.
Speaking of chalk.
I mean, I feel...
All right, pitch me on your street gang.
No. The teams going to nationals is pure chalk. I think that Revolver versus Condors is compelling.
Spicy.
I think you have to look at Revolver as the favorite given the history. But is this Revolver team as good as it used to be? Is this Condors team a little better than it's been in the past? I think the answer to both of those questions is yes. I think Condors can keep it interesting. I wouldn't be shocked if they won. I'm still going to take Revolver to win, but I think it's a lot closer than in the past. Like I could see 15-13, something like that.
All right, that was a much softer pitch than I was expecting, and I'm happy to hit that. I mean, this is not too different. I think that's about your ceiling, though. It's like 15-13. I guess Condors. It wouldn't like be the end of the world if Condors won. They're a good enough team to beat Revolver if they don't play well. But after what we saw from Revolver at Pro Championships, that didn't help grease the wheels and assuage some of your concerns about what does this new age Revolver look like? I mean, they look pretty damn good.
Yeah, but I feel like Condors looks pretty good too. I do think they look good. I think Revolver look good. Yeah.
Do you think Revolver can contend for semifinals?
Absolutely.
Do you think Condors can?
Probably not.
All right. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at too. I think we're much closer aligned than we realized on these two teams.
I think regionals matchups can often be closer than like nationals.
Yeah.
Because of familiarity.
There's a lot to play for.
Familiarity. Yeah, I mean, I guess Revolver's number 3 in the power rankings right now. I mean, I can't argue with it. I still harbor a little bit of skepticism.
I don't know that they're the third best team in the men's division, but I do think they're the first best team in the Southwest, and I'm taking them to finish in that order. And I don't really think it's going to be close with any of these other teams, though they're solid teams that maybe will be competitive in other regions, but they're outclassed here.
Yep, I agree completely. Mixed division is crazy. It's crazy.
Oh, we've seen this before.
I guess your favorite is Mischief. I guess
the 6 seed.
Yeah,
or whatever.
They lost to Polar Bears at sectionals. So by the seeding rules, they end up in 6th. Lawless looking a little shaky at sectionals. PBR hasn't been super consistent, and I don't think they have the best roster. Gosh, I don't know. I just don't know. I still think that when push comes to shove, Mischief with their full team, their full roster at regionals is the best team in the region. There's 2 bids, by the way. But I don't know. And then you've got Los Angeles Lotus. Solid team out of LA. California Burrito playing out of San Diego got wins over Polar Bears and Lawless during the season. I don't think I really believe that team's going to do big things at regionals, but they are a high seed at regionals. And Classy is not bad either. They split games with Polar Bears at sectionals. I don't know. I'm going to just go with the classic. Okay. I'm taking Mischief and Polar Bears in that order. Bay Area teams always show up. Sorry, Lawless. Not happening.
Tough after the all the reps and the hype around this Lawless team.
They're a good team.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we talked about donuts earlier in this podcast. There used to be a team called Donuts, and I can't remember if they were in the Northwest or the Southwest.
Oh yeah, they were Southwest. Yeah.
Okay, so there was a Southwest Donuts team. I'll tell you what, it is right around lunchtime, and a California burrito sounds really damn good right now.
Oh my gosh! If someone knocked on my door with a California burrito right now, I'd be hyped. They
do not mess around. Shout out to them for having a team name that's distracting me from being productive on this podcast. But I'm with you. Mischief is the most talented team here, and even if they finish third at regionals, I still will. Or not third. Sorry, if they finish second at regionals, I will still
You'll go to the mat. They were the best.
I'll go to the mat. They're going to show up at nationals.
They deserve a spot.
They're just going to fight their way in. No, I mean, there's reason to believe in this team, I think, when you look at the roster and the history. So to me, it comes down to PBR and Lawless. I don't know that any of these other challengers are quite there.
You don't think Lotus has got a shot? I
mean, they have an outside shot.
They whipped Lawless's butt at sectionals.
Yeah, but look at the whole year's worth of results for Lawless. I think
I hear you. I think
plays pretty well.
I think we got to throw out sectional stuff most of the time.
I'm with you there too. But I'm really not sure between these two teams. I love that Lawless has gotten so many reps. It is exactly the kind of thing you would knock them for coming into regionals in most years. A team that just hasn't played together very much, a new club team. They seem to really be able to activate the deep game when that's working for them. They're dangerous. Jamie Erickson able to use all that size in the end zone very effectively. But I don't know. I feel like I have that same vibe that you do, that the Bay Area teams show up at regionals, and it's been really hard for other teams to break through that kind of Bay Area wall. So I hate to make the same pick here, but I think I'm going to take Polar Bears over Lawless too.
Here's what I think is going to happen. Lawless is going to make the final. They're going to play. Should I look at the bracket? I should look at the bracket. Hang on a second. Are there schedules up yet for this region? For mixed?
There are not.
For mixed? You sure?
I'm not sure. Okay, I will check. There's not. There's
not? Well, all right. Then I guess I'm just going to stick with my guns. Here's what I think is going to happen. I don't know what the whole seating is going to be.
They don't have a field site. How are they going to have a schedule?
That's fair. Lawless and Mischief make the final, and I don't know if that's going to be possible with the brackets, but let's just say it happens. Lawless loses, and then they lose in the game to go to Polar Bears.
Yeah,
they'd already
you're LL by again.
LLC ya.
Yeah, that is that feels like a potential possibility. I can see that exact recipe playing out, and like maybe Lawless plays like a really tight final. Like they look like they could take Mischief to the brink, and that's just hard to recover from in the back door.
That's what I love about regionals.
Is there some sort of bylaw that the Southwest cannot have enough bids for all the good teams ever in any division?
No matter what the circumstances, even except, in this weird year.
I guess in Southwest Women's Club Women's is the exception. They always have just tons of bids, more than they could ever use. But Southwest Men's mixed at the college level just cannot have the right amount of bids ever.
Too much splintering. You gotta consolidate.
Maybe they need to focus on the regular season more. I don't know.
Something.
Not this year though. Wouldn't have helped.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, don't miss our subscriber bonus segment. We're going to be talking about tournament formats for regionals. Got a little funky. So we will break that all down in our sub bonus segment. For Keith Raynor, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long. Good luck at regionals, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.